All right, check. What's up, traders? Welcome back to the channel. Getting started a little bit late this morning because there's a big discussion going on inside of the trade talk community. Obviously, Weeks got hit with a cease and desist from the Atlanta bank. What is it? The Department of Banking and Finance from. Oh, great. OBS is doing some crazy stuff here this morning. Hopefully that stops doing that. Anyways, yeah, basically, it's getting to be a pain in the ass, so I'm just going to trade future perps on Coinbase, probably, in the future. But, I mean, it is what it is. I got Tasty account. I got a Charles Schwab account. I've got American accounts. I'm an American, so I'll just stick with the Coinbase. Other than that, Bitcoin, doing its thing here this morning. It's dropping. We've been watching an area of resistance up here. It was the prior 3-day swing high. Generally speaking, whenever you're trading inside of a weekly range like this and the weekly resistance that you're watching is way above price, I do want to go down in time frames. That's what the smaller time frames is for, to kind of give us the ability to look for potential areas of resistance inside of the weekly range. And as you can see there, that 3-day swing high, this was the prior swing high. So yesterday you closed this 3-day candle. So basically what we've seen is the last several days, Bitcoin treating this level as resistance. Breaking out yesterday, taking out this swing high. So it was a liquidation run. That was all it was. So if we move this over here, we got short on Monday at this level. And then Monday evening, Bitcoin ultimately did roll over enough for me to take profits on that trade. And then it bounced back up into that area of resistance. You can see that right here. So when we were live Tuesday for the public live stream, we were waiting for it to break down. I had my take profit down in here. So obviously I moved it up when this candle set a low the first time, and then I just set the take profit up to the low, and then later on in the day it pushed down a little bit further and made the lower low, and that ultimately ended up being support as you got a nice big bullish reaction there. So obviously because of this big bullish reaction, that literally tells me that I was not the only one that was looking to take profits down in here. So you had a big profit-taking, short-covering rally that took place, and then the bulls jumped onto that momentum and then forced it up into liquidate this swing high. So yesterday, during the private live stream, we were able to jump back into that trade because naturally the Monday entry got stopped out. So Monday, when you're in a choppy market like this, you definitely got to take profits quicker because you're getting two-sided action because you're in price discovery. So you just don't see big continuation moves, generally speaking, when you're in price discovery. So taking profits was the right call there because this ended up stopping us out. But because it was unable to trend above that level, we were able to jump back onto another short. And now here we are today. So it does look like Bitcoin is looking for the $68,889 low. That's going to be Tuesday's low. Right here. That's going to be your Tuesday low. So basically it's up to anybody. I mean, it's up to the bulls if it gets down there today. I don't know that it will. You're still testing the daily 21 exponential moving average. Obviously, price is trading well under the daily 21 exponential moving average. I get that. I understand that. However, it doesn't matter what it's doing on an intraday basis. For us, it matters what it does on a closing basis. Though I do not like the fact that Bitcoin is trading this far under the 21, and for my long Bitcoin holders only, obviously for shorts, that's exactly what you want to happen. But for longs only, you typically don't want to see it lose the 21. It can't sustain enough bullish momentum to even stay above a very quick moving average like that But I mean, it's in price discovery. Moving averages aren't very helpful in that circumstance as well. So we'll see what Bitcoin wants to do here. It definitely looks as if, though, on the near term, right now, today, that it wants to go lower. Essentially, what we're seeing is the dollar's in price discovery. The dollar, Bitcoin and the dollar are not trading. I don't want you to look at it in terms of Bitcoin and the dollar are correlated to the point to where they trade inverse to one another. We trade the chart. So it doesn't matter what dollar is doing for us to take Bitcoin positions. However, it is good to know what the dollar is doing because it might stop you from taking a bad trade, right? It could also stop you from taking a good trade. So I am a very strong proponent in trade the chart. Whatever chart you're looking at. If you want to trade gold, trade gold. If you want to trade the dollar, trade the dollar. I have a position on where I'm trading the dollar. I am expecting the dollar to be bullish. I have been expecting the dollar to be bullish. Our bullish invalidation level for the dollar would be the weekly 21 exponential moving average. So until the dollar is closing weekly candles back under this orange line, I have a bullish bias on the dollar. So it is struggling to break out, but this is a big level of resistance. This is a macro level of resistance to the extent that if the dollar was able to break out above, it could have macro ramifications for the dollar. Macro ramifications on an upswing, or if the dollar gets an upside expansion that lasts for multiple months, a whole quarter even, that could have negative ramifications for Bitcoin. But only time will tell. But anyways, I am positioned short on Aussie dollar to capitalize on a potential dollar breakout move. But I liked Aussie dollar. We've been watching Aussie dollar for the past 2 weeks because I said it's my favorite currency pair to trade if gold and silver also becomes weak. Because Aussie dollar, or Aussie, the currency is strongly, not strongly, but used to be, I'll say it that way, used to be a lot more correlated to gold and silver. So if gold and silver roll over, I expected it would potentially give the Aussie currency a little bit of stress. And that's actually what's playing out here now, finally. So we have a multiple... I'm short from up here, daily res. We've had multiple days now of downside pressure on Aussie dollar. This is going to be, February's low is going to be the breakdown level. If we go out to the monthly time frame, you can see how you're almost putting in a bearish engulfing candle here. You've got 5 days left on this close, so it looks good, and it might signal a topping formation here if you get a close under February's low. So there is still potential trading opportunities on Aussie dollar. You haven't missed anything because next month you're getting ready to open a new monthly candle. You might see a pullback into March's range. And if that happens, in my opinion, that would be an opportunity to look for shorts on Aussie dollar. So we're short Aussie dollar, we're short Bitcoin, and those are basically the only things that I have positions on right now. We were watching Nvidia to see if they were going to break, if it was going to break back above. We know though that generally in weak market environments, even gigantic rallies will oftentimes get faded. So you'll have a news item or something will come out and that will spark a massive short squeeze or whatever for like a day. But then as time goes on, generally that selling pressure comes back. And that's kind of what we're seeing here play out on Nvidia and Tesla. So I will be looking for lower highs on both Tesla and Nvidia moving forward for potential short side setups to look for lower prices. Tesla has broken down of a multi-month range here, but yesterday you traded back above into that range and then you filled a gap. And now you're seeing the selling pressure show back up. So it's still anybody's guess as to what's going to happen here, but things are poised for a pretty nasty breakdown. We haven't seen that nasty breakdown just yet, but things are starting to look more and more like it. If we come back over here to S&P 500, this is the SPY. We go down into an intraday time frame, you can see that it is bouncing off of November's low here. It is a higher low. So the bulls definitely want to see November's low hold as support if they're anticipating a move up into the 668 region. But bears clearly want to see a breakdown here. So it does look like the bears have come back in and faded this massive, massive spike. But it's the same thing that happened over here, right? You get a big spike, but then over time, the sellers just come right back. Massive spike, over time, the sellers just come right back. But it is a higher low. So today's going to be important. In terms of a weekly range expansion, we don't have that this week. This week, we're trading as an inside weekly candle. You still got 2 days left in this week, so you could see weekly range expansion to the downside. But we'll see if it happens or not. Inside candles are boring to trade because you're not getting expansion. You're just seeing inside sideways chop. That's what we've seen basically all week. A lot of sideways inside chop, even with Bitcoin. As you had a nice big move Monday, set the weekly open, you set the weekly low, and then you expanded in the upward direction. But since then, that expansion has been faded. It is stalled out, objectively speaking. So if Bitcoin makes a lower low, the bears are going to be positioned nicely. If Bitcoin makes a higher low, then I definitely want to see it close back inside of Wednesday's range. If that happens, then I would anticipate, Friday, that you might see a rally, or even possibly into the weekend, but I doubt it, right? It's getting to the later on in the week, so things, are basically just sideways. Bitcoin's been sideways for a long time, and this week is no different. So we're still seeing this range resolve here. Would love to see range resolution. It doesn't really matter which way. In terms of my cold storage portfolio, I am accumulating down here. I have an open buy set at 67K. Open buy. I think 67K is pretty much fair value for this range that we've made since the low we put in on February the 6th. 67K puts you right here around March's open. So if it does get back down there in the next few days, I will add more to the cold storage portfolio. And since Weeks is doing this to us right now, I will probably just, whatever I have on the Weeks platform, I'll just buy it all in Bitcoin and then send it, right? Send it. I'm already starting the process of opening the perp futures on Coinbase's exchange. So I'll be able to trade hopefully in the next couple weeks on Coinbase. But we'll see what happens with all that. It's still going to be a little bit of time. I figure it's not going to happen quickly, but we'll see. Anyways, yeah, Bitcoin, I'm expecting it most likely to continue to head lower here. If you look on a 30-minute time frame, it's been a pretty decent trend to the downside last night and going into the wee hours of the morning. So it does look like your London session traders faded it, and it did break down. So here's the question. What does New York do? The bell's getting ready to ring in about 3 minutes. Do they pick it up on these near-term higher lows? Do they buy it? Or do they run the 68,889 level? I'll most likely take profits on the trade down there, as I'm up pretty decent here. And then in terms of gold, gold is a little bit oversold for me to look for fresh shorts. If you look at it on the daily, you're pretty much oversold here. All right, you're not doing any kind of bullish divergence or anything like that. It's just setting so close to oversold. It really doesn't make sense for me to look for fresh long-term shorts. However, if gold does show signs of weakness above the prior 4-hour swing high, I might look for a short side scalp on gold and then just target the low of day. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You have broken out of this, down out of this very, very small near-term trend. I don't put much weight on trend lines because they're very subjective. But I mean, it is what it is. It does look like it's wanting to go lower here. And on the 4-hour RSI, you've got room to go back to the downside. This could be a trap though. So we have to be very, very cautious. I do like continuation lower as long as we're trading under the weekly open. The weekly open might be a better level to watch for short side entries. So we'll see what it does here at the bell. If it gives us a strong push above that 4-hour swing high, we'll watch what it does around the weekly open. And if it fails there, maybe we can get a short scalp going there. And like I said, we can target February's open or just shy of the low of day. That would be a 2% move. So it would be a very valid short scalp to take today. So we'll see what happens there. But up here is the Bitcoin position. Let me get over on Bitcoin real quick so you can see what I got going on here. So yeah, as I said, we were looking for that short up there on that 3-day swing high. We knew that Bitcoin, objectively speaking, needed to break out above that high if it had any chances of retesting last week's open at all, right? So that's why it was a very, very easy trade for us to make. But it took 2 times. So I got short Monday, made $300, got stopped out, got short yesterday, about to make more money. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But that's the low right there. So I'm going to set take profit. I don't know why. I don't know what happened to the little pop-up window showing me the low. But that low comes in at 68,884. So I'm going to set my take profit at 68,890. I got to close the damn stop loss before I can do that. Set a partial 68,890. And then I'm going to close probably half of it. Yeah, we'll close half of it. And we'll leave the other half on for any downside continuation if we get any downside continuation. It's been a really good week, so it would be a nice strong way to close out the week. We'll see what happens. All right, so that's Bitcoin. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, that's what we got going on. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic week. I was having a fantastic week until I got that sad news this morning. That pop-up just literally made me go, oh, because that's the exact same way it started back when I was trading on BitGet long time ago. Yeah, we got the exact same notification. BitGet was like, no, you'll be fine. And then 2, 3, 4 months later, you got to go. Different administration, but apparently it doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. So it is what it is. All right, so XAU kind of finding a little bit of near-term resistance. It might not even get up there. We'll see. Very choppy here. Has been since the London session. And you did not make a fresh London session low since you put this 440 candle low in. It's just basically been chopping around here. So we don't want to do anything in that. We'll give it a minute. Excuse me. We'll give it a minute. See what happens. Bitcoin pretty much looks like gold. A lot of things do. It actually looks like things are poised here to make a nasty move today. Your VIX is also trading up at 2683. So there's that. 2683. It seems like every day here the VIX is so far up. So like a big downside move could come. So last Saturday I put out a video talking about backwardation on the ES futures. You had backwardation on NQ futures, you had backwardation on the VIX, and you had backwardation on oil futures. That means that people are concerned and they can't really even judge what they think is going to happen 30 days out. So very, very bad. We could see nasty moves. I think a lot of people are starting to think that a big move down isn't coming. Otherwise, it would have already. But no, it generally happens when you least expect it, right? Least expect it. I have a spread on the SPY at 650 down to 635 or 630. Yeah, 635. It's a $15 wide spread, but if it does break down under there, I'll close that one and I'll look to put on some new downside risk further out in time. Give it another year or so, because we could see some nasty downside here. If this thing gets going with any kind of momentum at all to the downside, it could get really, really nasty really, really quickly. As you can see here, this is the range. This candle dominates the range. So since October, the S&P has been in a range. You've been trading basically inside of October's range. We saw massive rotations out of growth into value plays, into oil, into other things. And that is literally what kept the S&P from breaking out to the upside. Now we're testing the bottom edge of the range, and it's weak. It looks like it really wants to try to give it a run to the downside. Next quarterly swing low is down here at 615 spot 52. So if you do break down below November's low and you get any kind of momentum, this would be my next downside target. And then obviously massive range here. And that's just because back in 2025, we set those lows in April, bear market lows on this SPY, and then you saw a massive rally after that. But that rally has kind of been thwarted, like I said, since October. So important for the S&P 500 to hold support here. And it is a big level of support. So it could hold. It could absolutely hold. Okay, Bitcoin's on the move here. Looks like Bitcoin wants to go on down there and smoke that low. Yeah, I don't know if gold is going to give us an entry. I cannot short gold here. I just can't do it. It's too oversold. It only gives me an opportunity worth taking really and truly up at the week open. If I'm looking for a 2% move, then I can't short it unless it tests 44.91, because there's no guarantee that you'll get a 2% move if you short it from here. The low is just right there. So even if we shorted it there, it wouldn't even have been a percent move. Gold does typically move pretty damn slow. S&P 500 starting to move a little bit to the downside. You had a gap down today on the S&P. Yesterday's close, 65.91. Today's open, 65.55. So 36 points to the downside. You did fill a gap on Nvidia, and on Tesla, you had a gap on Nvidia right here. It was a very small gap because a lot of it got filled on that Thursday when you traded back up. But you did have that much of a gap. That gap got filled yesterday, and you're gapping down again here today. And then same thing on Tesla. Big gap up here to be filled. It got filled, tagged resistance, and rolled over. This trend line also looks more like a channel. Tesla's still holding firm inside that channel, so it doesn't really look good for some of these things. I think that oil is the culprit. Oil is making the dollar move. You're into resistance up here on oil. So if oil starts to head back lower, then maybe the dollar would go back into, lower pricing. That would, I think, potentially help some risk assets, but there's no guarantee that risk assets are out. They're not. It's probably going to be all year you're going to be seeing volatility, especially now. Going to be a pretty good, lot of volatility all year long, especially now. So, going to take a minute for them to get the Strait of Hormuz under control. And the unfortunate scenario is it doesn't seem like Iran wants to help even in the slightest. So the U.S. has put themselves in a nice pickle. But yeah, we'll see what happens on oil today and see if that affects the other risk markets. S&P trying to bounce here this morning, which makes sense. You got a gap down. November's low is support. Could you potentially buy this? You could. You could. You're buying into weakness, which is generally not, I mean, obviously that's when you do buy, but when I say you're buying into weakness, I mean today. You're buying into a gap down. You're buying into a little bit of momentum. So basically, I would just want to see, is that level able to hold pretty much on at least 30-minute closes? If you can't close 30-minute candles under November's low, then maybe later on in the session, I could look for a long side scalp up to like 659, back up into yesterday's high. I wouldn't anticipate that getting up there today, but that would be like a multiple day target. If it holds today, maybe by tomorrow you're making new highs, but it doesn't feel like that's the play to make. Feels like being short is the right trade. A little bit of 5-minute volatility here on Bitcoin. It did not make a fresh day low yet. 69,156. And on the daily, if you look at where the moving average is, it's way up there. So this does look like a legit breakdown. Anytime you have an area of support or potential support, and it ends up being the midpoint of a daily candle, that generally isn't very good, right? Not what you want to see. So, and this day could get a lot nastier. Could get a lot nastier. We'll see. Take profits situated, so good to go. We'll just wait and see what happens. Let me put a stop loss out. I forgot to do that. Oh, good morning, good mornings. A lot of good mornings. Knew it was a matter of time before this BS came back. Banks hate that we can trade perps without ridiculous monitoring fees. Yeah, I get it, man. And that's what I've basically been telling my community the whole time, all day, all morning. It sucks, but kind of anticipated it would happen. That's why I wasn't a super huge shill the whole time, because it's a pain in the ass. It's just more annoying than it is anything, because the US won't allow that stuff to be like, I would obviously open an exchange and build out the operating system the exact same way that all the offshore exchanges do to make it convenient and ease of use and all of that. But people have tried to do that, obviously. It's just regulations, government bureaucracy, and small government is usually better, but we haven't had a small government for 50 years. It is what it is. So just to keep the BS down to a minimum, from now on, I'm just going to be placing trades on US exchanges. Tasty, Schwab, Coinbase, Forex.com. Basically, those things. All's good. I was actually looking at British pound Canadian dollar a little bit this morning. Let me move it over here. Microsoft looks absolutely terrible. Look at Microsoft. It is literally massively oversold here. This is probably going to find a bottom soon, but we'll see. Let me pull up pound CAD. simply because if oil wants to stay strong, that could give Canadian dollar a bid. And if dollar stays strong, that would obviously put weakness under pound CAD. Now, with that being said, pound CAD is very bullish here this week. And it was last week. You had a lot of bullish momentum. So you can see that the sellers have not been winning this battle. Higher low, higher low, higher low. And even today, even still, you have a higher low here. So it does look like it wants to break out to the upside. And it is a very risky short. But if it fails today, like maybe if it gets up here, takes out yesterday's high and then rejects, maybe then I could put on a sell side trade, or I could potentially do it here now. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to put it on here and now with a tight stop. Try to get that stop just over the prior 4-hour swing high. Because if it's trading above this swing high right here, it's most likely coming up here. So if it can stay under the prior 4-hour swing high, I'll hold the short. It's a risky short, because these are higher lows on a daily basis. I understand that you have a lower low here on an intraday basis, but you look at it on a daily basis, every day has been a higher low, higher low, higher low. And when that happens, we typically expect the breakout. But we'll see. Dollar fails today, then Bitcoin might find support too. So the sellers today in risk markets might be wrong. This actually might be telling the sellers that they're wrong. So maybe don't put that trade on just yet. Yeah, maybe don't do that yet, because I am starting to see dollar back off a little bit here. Look at this. This thing is starting to back off here. Could this be a false breakout? It could be, but I mean, as long as you're not, if you don't make fresh daily lows on the dollar today, I would not be anticipating this to be a false breakout. Anything down to today's open could be a potential pullback, an intraday pullback. So let's get today's open marked here. And then today's low. So we'll mark these with blue lines. Yeah, as long as price is above these two blue lines, we're going to give the respect to the bulls. We're going to have a bullish bias. I wouldn't be shorting that, but if you're short up there, then obviously just hold it, because I can't predict what price will do. Let me see what this is doing on a very small time frame chart. Yeah, on a very small time frame chart, it does look like it wants to go up. Let me get you over there. So here on the 15-minute, it does look like it wants to go up. So this is last week's high. I'm going to use this level to mitigate my risk. If it's trading above it, I'm not going to put on the short. If it continues to trade below it, though, I will. So pound CAD is potentially setting up right now for a short. Depends on what the dollar does here. Yeah, see, oil is not breaking out yet. So oil is still trading inside of the prior 3-day high, or 3-day candle. You're about testing the weekly midpoint right now on oil, so it does make sense that there would be some resistance there for sure. But yeah, you're you're trading into resistance on oil. I mean, you've got a daily supply level at 94.46. You've got a 3-day supply level at 95.27. So if oil refuses to trade above that 3-day supply level, then that might give me more of a bearish bias on oil. But obviously this chart is bullish. This chart is bullish, even though you had a nasty volatile move here. Big, huge range. This isn't a blow off. It's just super volatile. So we'll see. Oil is a difficult trade. It is a highly, highly manipulated asset, meaning like too many factors can manipulate price, obviously. So it's a difficult trade. Difficult trade. Bitcoin's retesting 4-hour. You're really not doing anything here. It's a nice bullish rally though. I'll give you that. Off of the daily low. But these usually get faded. How many times have we seen the bulls pick it up, give a nice big move like that, just for 30-45 minutes later it to roll right back over? So before Bitcoin's going to have to get way up in here before I would even say that anything has changed. This is why it's better if you look at the higher. You can still take very small time frame trades. Just because you're looking at a higher time frame chart doesn't mean you can't take scalps. Like, you can scalp just by looking at a daily candle. But yeah, you've done nothing here with this little bounce. It's literally a nothing burger. You've essentially just retested the previous low. If that holds as resistance, then I would definitely anticipate this level getting broke. A little bit of near-term volatility here at the bell. What's up? Good morning. Good morning, Grow Geek. Kelly says, or is it Khalil? Sorry. Khalil says, what moving averages do you use besides the 21, the 50? And I mean, I look at all of them on a weekly time frame, but like if I'm looking intra week, so if I'm trying to get positioned for a weekly range expansion or an intra week range expansion, I only care about the 21 and the 200. I don't really care about moving averages on anything smaller than a daily time frame. Obviously, I have moving averages on this chart, but I don't use them for anything. I just forget to turn them off sometimes. And I'm constantly moving between time frames. Sometimes I just leave them on. But right now, Bitcoin is bearish. It's bearish on the week because it's trading under its weekly VWAP. It's trading under the monthly VWAP here. So, I mean, it doesn't look good. This is why we were looking for shorts yesterday, because Bitcoin is more poised for a downside move here. Yeah, when you lost this right here, you lost it the other day too, and the bulls were able to get it back. So you're in price discovery. I don't know for sure it's going to break down or anything. It could simply trade right back up to here today. But this is where it needs to break out up above before you can say, okay, now we're heading higher. So it could still happen. The daily 21 could still hold. Bitcoin could absolutely be a buy here today. I got my buys setting at 67, and that's for the cold storage, not for a trade. For a trade, still feels good to hold the short. If we start taking out this high and heading higher, then obviously my take profit's going to get shifted. I will not give back all that unrealized P&L. I will, no matter what, get $300 out of that thing. We were also yesterday watching XMR, but XMR has been a very difficult scalp as of late. It hasn't really been respecting technical levels that good. I mean, it did, but it was a difficult trade. We were looking for the breakdown here to hold and then looking for downside continuation, but it just feels like it should have already been trending lower by now. It's basically just been sideways. Yeah, you're breaking down out of a very long, like a long-term bear flag here. So that's what I was looking for, an expansion lower. And it hasn't happened yet. So I have to ask myself why. And yesterday we were watching these levels here, but it just traded way too far above it. It didn't really put in a very good trap. But ultimately, it did up here. I think we were watching this one down here. I might have put that on later in the day. So down here is what we were looking at. And this is where we wanted to take the short. If it held, it didn't. So I am no longer holding this one. But Zcash looks like it wants to go lower. Pingu looks exactly like Bitcoin, but doing kind of the same thing here. It's testing the 21. Today's close will be hugely important. Yeah, Bonk is actually looking okay here. This a higher low? Let me see here. No, it's a lower low on the daily. Never mind. You got a lower low, lower high in the last 2 days. So basically, if Bonk doesn't make a higher daily high today, I would still be more... I'd still have more of a short side bias. And then Farcoin, yesterday, someone asked me if they could short right there. And I kind of talked them out of it because it had too much bullish momentum and it literally turned around there. So hopefully they were able to get in, and they did not listen to me because that ended up being a phenomenal short. Yeah, that ended up working out perfectly. To me, it just felt like Fartcoin was going to break out. It's a failed breakout. That's the problem in bear markets. The breakouts just don't have any teeth. They don't bite that hard. You get maybe a day or two of a breakout, everything looks good, and then bleh, right back in. Like, God, what are you doing to me? Price, baby, price. Good afternoon, guys. What's up, Oxum? Good morning. It seems like there's so many people expecting a big move down. I wonder if they'll pull big. Yeah, that's a big risk, right? Because the market is so heavily shorted right now. It's kind of a one-sided trade. Yeah, if Bitcoin could get some bullish momentum, we would be scalping in that direction, clearly. Looking for that short squeeze to take place. Yeah. The problem is Bitcoin, every time Bitcoin is looked like it's going to do that, the sellers knock it right back down. That's the issue. Yeah, it looks like a lot of retail people, especially larger people, like your Benjamin Cohens and all them, they are expecting much lower prices. Looks like they're going to be right. I'm more of a scalper, so I try not to project long-term targets like that. But yeah, I mean, it's weak. There's nothing else you can say about it, right? It's super weak. It can't sustain any bullish momentum whatsoever. Maybe a week, maybe two, but after that, it peters out. When Bitcoin becomes bullish again, you almost won't even get a chance to buy it. It'll be just absolutely exploding to the upside. Once it taps or it runs out of supply down here, it will literally reprice aggressively higher. Very aggressively. But in the bear market, it doesn't really make sense to look for that trade. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it doesn't. For us in this community, whenever price loses the monthly volume weighted average price, we tend to be a little bit more bearish. Because we know for a fact it isn't going. I mean, we may not be looking for a death style candle or anything like that, but it makes it a lot harder to get positioned for a short squeeze when price is literally showing us it's super weak. So I have no problem positioning for longs on pullbacks anywhere above the 21. So if Bitcoin could break back out above this today, close above it today, then tomorrow or the next day or Monday of next week, I would be anticipating buying dips and trying to get positioned for a potential short squeeze. Because eventually it will. We just don't know when. And there are a lot of risks out there that are keeping these markets weighed down. A lot of them. Massive headwinds right now for risk. Had a lot of momentum on that Monday. I would have wanted to see that continue for a couple days, like be legit, be real upside momentum. It just didn't do that. I'll tell you one thing though, yesterday when it was sideways here, I did not feel as if though the short trade was going to work. It did really feel like Bitcoin was going to make that run above 71, and it petered out. I woke up this morning, I thought for sure I was going to wake up to being stopped out, and it was the other way around. I woke up nicely in profit, and I rolled my eyes. I was like, Bitcoin, you suck. Because I like it better when Bitcoin's bullish, because everybody makes money in a bull market. You just got to own it. If you own it, you're going to do good. You don't have to be a good trader to make money when things are moving higher. You just simply have to own it. But when you're in price action, like when you're in price discovery, like we are now, then you got to be a good trader. If you're trying to catch these intra-week moves, intra-month moves. Got a monthly close coming up, and Bitcoin is still up. So that is one good thing to say about it. It is still up. It's just, it does not look good. It looks really bad. It looks like it wants to go lower. You had 5 months of downside here. Finally, we're up on the month, near the end of the month, but it's losing all of the gains that it got early on in the month. Doesn't look good. But next month could open anywhere in this range and take off. We don't know. We'll see. I think you would definitely need that war in Iran to be over, and you would definitely need oil back on schedule. You would definitely need some good news. You're also going to need a very good bullish catalyst, I think. I don't think it would be, I don't think that would be enough, actually. But we'll see. I know a lot of billionaires have been buying Bitcoin. That's when billionaires buy. They buy when everybody else is too afraid to buy because they got a large time window. So I know eventually Bitcoin will bottom out and it'll head higher. I don't know it, but I expect it. Things are kind of slow here. SPY did hold support, so that's a good look. That's a good look. Nvidia is holding the March open. That's also a good look. Oof, it looks like it wants to break down, but if it can hold the March open, you could see a move back up to the weekly 21 EMA. This could have just been a retest of it because you did lose it. This thing has been, price has been testing this thing now for about this will be week number 4. Let's make sure we have it on last week's close. 180.90. We do. Okay, so we're good on that. Yeah, that's been literally retested a bunch. A bunch. It does look like the sellers are in control of it. Yeah, fresh monthly low was made, then you had a bullish bounce, and then so far it's been faded. This is a big level of support here for Nvidia. Major level of support. There's news on Tesla because SpaceX is potentially IPOing soon. So I've kind of been staying away from Tesla. I don't know how market participants would take that news. They filed for an IPO this week. I didn't think they would IPO this week, but it ain't over yet. Some people are saying maybe in June they'll look to do the IPO. But while that's out there, it's a potential catalyst, and unfortunately I just don't know. It kind of feels like you would see some downside pressure come from Tesla in the beginning for the SpaceX IPO, as you might have people size down out of their Tesla holdings and then move those capital flows into SpaceX. I know I want to buy and own SpaceX, just not at the very beginning of the IPO. I think that will be it'll be a historic IPO. It will IPO the most expensive stock in history. I know a lot of people want to own it. I want to own it. So it's just too big of a catalyst to kind of look for any serious positioning on Tesla right now. For me. Then again, if you like volatility like that, you could definitely get lucky and nail the move, whichever way it ends up being. That was a sizable bounce on the S&P 500. So yeah, I definitely want to keep an eye on what's going on with that. it basically put it right back into the prior 4-hour swing high on the futures. See what I mean? You did make a higher high. There's still plenty of time for this to close as a bearish engulfing, so maybe if you filled the gap, you would want to see S&P continue to trend up above 656. Otherwise, it's just a gap fill. So it's a nice bounce, but it's not enough for me to full on get bullish here. Thoughts on Tao coin? Let's go look at it real quick. It was extremely bullish not too long ago. It's up a little bit today. I mean, it's see, the sellers just couldn't get what they wanted out of it. Let me get rid of all these drawings. It's overbought, so I wouldn't be a buyer on it. I know crypto can get way more overbought than just overbought, but I typically don't want to be a buyer on an overbought market. It's expanding. There's nothing more that you can say here. You're trending higher for the month of March. Could it fail or stop going higher? Yeah, I expect it will. You've got 5 days left on the month. So you'll probably see a little bit of sideways price action here until you get a new monthly open. But I mean, I wouldn't be a seller on it either. It's got too much momentum. If you were looking for the short, you don't, do you? I don't know. It doesn't look like you. I mean, obviously you have a bearish diverging signal here. Yes, not yesterday, but Tuesdays when you got the higher high and the higher close. So Tuesday's close would have been bearish divergence. There's just too much momentum to take that short signal. If it's in the midst of a short squeeze, it could just keep going though. If it continues to trade sideways here, people will look for the short. They'll look for the short for the reversion back to the 200. So I would play it for, if I was going to play it for the reversion trade, I would want to say if it can't trade above 376, then maybe I could put a little bit of risk on for a reversion back to 267, but that's about all you got. It's overbought and that stuff. So yeah, a lot of momentum. That looks good. Looks good. This asset trades for 346 per coin, so it has actual value. That probably means it has an actual use case. I don't know what it is though. Just looking at the technicals, it looks good for potential upside continuation. I just don't have a valid setup on it right here. For my strategies, there are probably valid strategies you could put on it. It looks like it wants to go higher. Could this be a bull trap? Maybe, but I mean, it's not really a trap. You haven't lost bullish momentum even on the 4-hour chart. Maybe you could say it's like a trap on the hourly or something. So if you were looking for intraday scalps, you wouldn't want to see it go any higher than this right here. But let me pull it up on the actual futures platform to see what the funding rate looks like. Yeah, the funding rate is paying the sellers. So the sellers are getting paid on Tau right now. It kind of trades as an illiquid asset. But it's got 29 million contracts traded in a 24-hour period. So it's not illiquid. It just looks like it is. Because there's gaps all over the place. Maybe one could set up a trade like that. If it stays under this line, you could potentially scalp the short back down to low of day. But if Bitcoin does remain bullish for the rest of the day, I don't know if I would even want to put on a short in the crypto market. Right now, the markets are being pretty good and controlled by your oil and dollar futures contracts. Dollar moving back to the upside here. Oil's been on the move for since yesterday afternoon, but it's failing here. Hasn't failed yet. But it is starting to look like exhaustion. It's got a lot of work to do before you can call it exhaustion. The daily open could act as support. On the very near term, though, it looks like it wants to go lower. But this could literally end up being the low. We'll see what they do with it. You ever short MicroStrategy? No. I mean, that's a lie. Yes, I have shorted it via put options. But I mean, I don't trade it very often. The option contracts on MSTR are almost impossible to mitigate risk on because they move so fast. MicroStrategy is already an over-leveraged asset class by itself. Like, it's a very high beta stock. It moves very, very fast. Because it's almost traded as a 2x levered Bitcoin asset. And Bitcoin can be extremely volatile. So if you're trading options on top, it's like putting leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage. So I generally stay out of it. I did buy shares when it got oversold on MicroStrategy. But unfortunately, I was early. So that position is down. Pound CAD is trading above last week's high again. So I don't want to put that short on as long as it's trading above last week's high. As long as it's trading above this, I don't want to be short. Got too much momentum this week. But this could be a stop run. This could be a stop run. You're stopping out traders all the way up until 2 o'clock yesterday. So anybody that shorted Pound CAD this morning for the London session, and then anybody that shorted Pound CAD in the New York session, are now getting stopped out. So what it does now will determine the larger time frame move. If it continues to make higher daily highs, then don't short it, because it could be looking to run. This asset doesn't trend very often, but when it does, you can catch a multi-day trend on it. You can do pretty good on it. It moves very fast. Pound is a high beta forex pair. You can see here, this is a daily candle. That was a gigantic rally. And clearly the bulls are still on it. So we got to be careful putting shorts on it while it's trading up here. Keep that in mind. All right, so now it's time to see, are those New York buyers legit or not? That is the question. Nvidia made fresh day lows, but still trading at March's open. It could be support. Tesla rallying this morning. What does the moving averages look like on Tesla? Kind of spread out a little bit. But definitely still like it wants to go lower. I mean, the 200s is above the 21. So the very near term trend is still down. If it starts to break back above 384 and trending, then the sellers will get smoked. Where are those New York buyers? Starting to look bad here. Good for shorts, bad for longs. Is this that song that just keeps going and going and going and going? No. I don't like it though, I'm changing it. It's the same song, that's what it is. Okay, moving on. You're not going to use weeks anymore. No, not. They're going to, most likely they're going to just stop allowing US customers to trade on their platform. It hasn't got anything to do with me. It's not like I don't want to use it anymore. You know what I mean? But that also happened when I was trading on BitGet. I didn't want to stop using it. They had good fee structure and their platform worked really good. The trades got filled nicely, had plenty of volume, liquidity. So, I mean, it's not like I want to stop. It's just, it's being forced to happen through government bureaucracy. So essentially the government's telling Weeks, you got to stop allowing US citizens to trade on your platform. And Weeks is telling them, or at least at this point, starting to tell US citizens, because I got a pop-up this morning that literally said your IP address is no good. And then we did Wes did a little bit of digging and found out why. So it's not like an accident. It's a legitimate thing. There's a legitimate, here, I'll give it to you. Or I'll show you. I don't want to give you the link because I didn't click on the link and I never show links that I don't or won't click on myself, but right here you go. Department of Banking and Finance order to cease and desist issued to Weeks International Exchange. This was back in 2025. And then this article says that that has became final. So I didn't click on it, but Wes isn't the kind of guy that would knowingly put a phishing link in the Discord. So just be careful. If obviously it looks like it's going to become final, so if that happens, I'll drop obviously I'm probably going to anyways, drop the link out of the description so nobody else from the US goes over there. I had no way of knowing that was going to happen because I didn't know. If I would have known back March of last year that had happened, I would have started warning people then. I'm not in this for anything other than to just try to help retail traders do it the right way, the safe way. I'm not looking to make a secondary income on link clickage. I trade. I do fine trading, so I'm fine with that. I don't need to generate revenue from YouTube, if you will. So yeah, obviously, if you're in the US, do not use my link for the week's exchange because I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's too risky at this point. And I'm definitely not going to tell people to use a VPN or anything like that because that still isn't legal. You definitely want to stay legal when it comes to trading. It's already a pain in the ass with everything else that we already have to do with trading profits with the government. So you definitely want to stay legal. Yeah, so that's that. Weird Tesla got a similar bounce like Bitcoin's. Yeah, I think the dollar and oil are essentially, they're not, like, we can look at the correlation coefficient and tell if things are trading inversely to the dollar or not. But it's not so much that they're trading inversely correlated to the dollar. It's people are putting, they're making financial decisions based off of what oil and dollar are doing and what they think they are going to do in the future. So you do have this near-term push-pull kind of sort of with, if dollar's up, things are probably going to melt. If dollar goes down, things are probably going to find support. So Tesla and Bitcoin kind of look the same here, right? On a very near-term time frame, just since the New York session opened. Order flow will affect everything, especially if you're trading as a risk-on or risk-off market. Then, yeah, I mean, Tesla and Bitcoin will look the same. Most of your risk-on assets will be green when other risk-on assets are green and red when they're red. They don't trade perfectly inverted or anything like that. Like, it's not people deciding, hey, Tesla's moving up, so I'm going to buy Bitcoin. That isn't what's going on. It's mostly just the whole market is kind of making moves based on oil right now. That will eventually cease to be the case in the future, but right now, oil is the main driver. But like I said, with Tesla, you got to be careful with that SpaceX IPO looming because obviously we don't know what that's going to do, what kind of volatility that's going to put on Tesla. Could be a lot. Could make it really crazy for the next few days, few weeks, few months. We'll see. Bitcoin is starting to bounce here. There's those New York buyers. So yeah, a lot of people expecting Bitcoin to roll over. I generally don't like to be on the same side as the herd. And the herd is very short here. But unfortunately, I have to do what price tells me to do. And price literally rejected up here. So if I'm looking for that move lower, then I got to put on a short. It's still down here, so I don't want to do anything yet. But if Bitcoin does start to take out like higher time frame highs, then I will have to make a decision on what to do with those unrealized gains. Because it's a big position, it's almost a full-size position. So just like it got, nicely in the money pretty quickly, it can get nicely out of the money just as quickly if price goes back to this level. Because this is the level that I'm short from. So I have to watch these higher time frame highs. Now the 12 hour is all the way up there because obviously the drop happened then. And the 8 hour is way up there. So you see why this high is a very important high for me. If you take this high out, that means you're back inside of that 8 hour range. And the next high to take out is way up here. That's where I'm positioned. So there's no way a good trader will allow this to go all the way back up to there before taking profits. No way. So I'm definitely going to have to do something here if Bitcoin does not roll over. And because the herd is so positioned to the downside, that's the reason why we can't get a downside break. It's just very choppy price action. It's price discovery. Price discovery can be annoying for delta positive positions. If you need a trending move in a specific direction, it can be annoying because you're not getting that trending move. But that is also on the trader to make a decision to identify the market you're trading in, right? And we know that Bitcoin is very choppy here. So as long as it's below there, I'll hold the short. I'll just keep it open as long as it's below there. I don't need to do anything yet. I don't need to freak out just yet. It's been a really good week this week, so it's basically just icing on the cake anyways. And I love icing. I have a big sweet tooth. But I mean, the structure still looks good for downside also. So I mean, it doesn't make much sense to try to pull off the entire position just because it makes a higher high. I'm not going to do that. I will take some of the position off if it does. Because the structure, your 21 is under the 200. So we could see a trending move take place. Right now, my take profit target is just right here. But yeah, the structure looks good. The moving averages are really close to one another. This could all be a bear trap. All of this could be a bear trap. As if Bitcoin breaks out above this, you could see it reprice all the way back up to 75 rapidly. So we're at a very pivotal location in terms of, analyzing price technically anyways. So it makes sense that Bitcoin will spend some time here chopping people up a little bit. You also are at a pivotal location in terms of the dollar and oil as well. So like people are waiting to see, is the dollar going to break back out above Q4 of 2025's high or not? Because if you do that, then you're literally trending higher on the dollar. So that's why Bitcoin, you can see that the dollar has been very choppy, very sideways here this week. Last week, it was also pretty choppy, pretty sideways. But the week prior to that, we had an expanding week in the upward direction. So if the dollar bears are right here, the bullish invalidation for me is all the way down here. As long as it's trading above this, I think it's still threatening the upside break, which means that you could see that lower downside break on Bitcoin. But if the dollar breaks back to the downside, that would be good, I think, longer term for Bitcoin. Be more positive. And we are seeing the dollar fail today. The dollar did have a legitimate breakout. It is trading above the weekly open. So you did get back to positive on the week here. Right? So like you changed structure around here on the dollar. Tomorrow's the close. So if the bears are going to win this range, if they're going to make it look good for next week's positioning, they really want to see this fail, this run up fail. But the more time the dollar spends in positive territory, that means the more chances you're going to see the dollar break out. And that's essentially, I think, what a lot of traders are looking at, watching. So big move either direction could happen here on the dollar. And it will probably end up being a trending move as well. Because this was a big key area for the dollar, and then you got 2 weeks of upside trend once it broke out. I think something similar would happen. If you got above this, you could see a couple weeks of trend. And vice versa. If it breaks back down, you could see a few weeks of trend. Pivotal location for a lot of stuff right here. So a lot of positions are being put on for the longer term. Love it. I love it when we get to areas like this, because when you're right, those trades generate decent returns. I think we're okay here. I don't see any reason to change the way I'm positioned. I'm short Aussie dollar. I'm short Bitcoin. Don't really see any reason to change that yet. Now, on the day-to-day, that's going to be a lot more difficult, right? Because on day-to-day, you can have narratives, very small narratives, running day-to-day price action. But on the longer term, I definitely want to be short Bitcoin, and at least with the dollar position the way it is right now, I definitely want to be long the dollar. Things like pound CAD, those are going to be a little bit more difficult in terms of sussing out daily trades. Pound CAD looks like it wants to break out, and it's still trending. Like I said, if it's trading above that level, do not put the short on. If you listen to me, you are not short, and you're not getting stopped out here. It's got to fail here before a short can even work, before you can even think about it, right? It's got to be under this level. It still doesn't mean that it's going to give you a big trending move, but at least you know it is no longer breaking out. Above this level, you are in trend continuation. That's why this technical level is so important. This asset is literally trending to the upside right now. You are above last week's high up here. This can go away. We don't need the blue line. You are literally in open space up here. The next level for liquidation is all the way up here. So if it stays in this area, that's the target. Very, very easy stuff. It's not easy, but it's simple, right? trading is never easy, but we try to keep the process as simple as possible. We can make statements like, if it does this, then we will do that. If it's above this, we will not be short. If it's below this, we can be short. The very near-term target is yesterday's high. But as long as you're trading above last week's high, it could be heading up there. It doesn't really matter, right? If you're looking for the short, it doesn't matter where it goes, as long as it's above this level. That's what I try to teach people. How to objectively analyze price to the best of your ability, and then make trading decisions based on objective price action. Be short on assets that are objectively weak. Be long assets that are objectively strong. Would I buy this? No. Nope. Not yet. Now, if it breaks out, then I could be a buyer, like tomorrow, for instance, on another higher daily low. So if it makes another high here, then tomorrow on the pullback, I could then be a buyer and target another daily high. But we don't know if this is a trap yet or not. It could still be a trap. So it could still be a short. It just might not be today. It's one of those type of things. Too much near-term momentum on the upside, though, to press a short trade. There really wasn't anything else in terms of like positions. That's what I was telling my girl just before I went live. I was like, I really don't even have anything. I mean, I can tell people what I have in terms of a longer term analysis on a few things, but in terms of a fresh day setup, we don't really have that unless gold, does that quickly and then fails quickly. Like, this was really the only setup I had. And I don't love the gold short because on the larger time frames, gold is pretty oversold. So like, there's not much juice to squeeze out of a short side entry. But if we're looking for a weak open retest and failure, if it gives us that, then we could put on some risk and we could target a fresh day low or down in this area. But it hasn't done that yet, and it's going on 1040. So I generally want my setups to play out right in between like 8 and 11 a.m. The perfect setups are going to happen right at the bell. You're going to get the test on the level, price is going to reject or whatever, right? And then we put the trade on, and then you get that volume coming in heavily with the right side of the market. You get a quick expansion. This isn't a quick expansion today. It's a whole lot of chop. It could end up expanding later on in the day, but at least for right now, I don't have a setup on it. At least for right now, it's in Nowheresville. But I mean, depending on your time frame and target size, all of that will obviously, I'm sure people are taking positions here on Bitcoin. I'm almost positive of it. Some people are selling it right here where it is right now, and some people are buying it right here where it is right now. But we try to fit our entries in and around what's possible or what the high probable setup calls for. So the only way you could really make decent money on a short here on Bitcoin is if you get a breakdown and a continuation move, because you're so far down on the daily range. So you would literally need not only this low to be taken out, but you would need this low to be taken out. You would need an expansion down into here. So I try, and it could happen. That's that stuff that we can't predict as traders. Yeah, it might happen. But the best setup was yesterday. The obvious setup, anyways, was yesterday. But sometimes we do take these trades, but not down here, right? If Bitcoin came up here and failed to put in that higher low, then we could put on a short, and then we could target support, as that's a pretty high probable setup too. Now, it doesn't mean it'll work. When I say high probable setup, I don't necessarily mean there's a high probability that you're going to make money. I mean, there's a high probability that this could work, this particular move, because it's inside of the price range that the market has already given us. So we already know that it can trade in here. We aren't anticipating a breakdown. We are anticipating it to stay in the range if we took a short here. Right? So that's what makes it a high probable. It's just the whole area is high probable, not the trade itself. There's no way to know if shorting right here would work or not. There's no way to know what a high probabilistic move is. But yeah, so that's how we try to fit our positions. And then we know that as long as we just keep a better than 50% hit rate, we're going to make money long term. That's all we need to do. So literally it doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter. We're not trying to predict what price is going to do. We're just looking for the where price is already trading and target those areas. So you could put shorts on there and that would be good. But I think up here was a better area. So now, typically, we want to be taking profits when other people are just putting on positions. That's generally the way we want to work it out. So you're going to have a lot of people buying this low down here. So that's when we want to be getting out. We want to be taking profits while everybody else is making decisions on whether or not to get in. Yeah. And it works out for us more than 50% of the time. And when I say us, I generally mean me. Talking in third person here. It's Kelly. Kelly was taken. Got you. That's kind of what I assumed it was to begin with. But thank you for at least letting me know, so that way I won't be calling you Khalil. Bitcoin below 3-month support, which is closing in 5 days. Yes, that is true, guys. We have Q2 2026 opening up soon. Those are my favorite times to look for positions. Yearly, quarterly, and monthly opens are generally good times to look for trending trades. And you can basically simplify it so much just by simply saying, if you buy the monthly open, if Bitcoin has an upside expansion for that month, you will be positive, right? And vice versa. If Bitcoin's going to be nasty in April, then you can sell the open and get the expansion for April in the downward direction. I like getting in on pullbacks. So if I'm looking for the monthly expansion, allow it to pull back into a previous month open or something and look for entries there. It just depends on what I'm looking for, right? I guess. But yeah, monthly opens are good times to look for the larger time frame expansions. And he is right. You're going to start Q2 soon. 5 days and 10 hours. And Q1 looks rough. Q1 looks rough. In fact, looking at this chart, let's go to this chart. Put it on log. Right here you had 4 quarters in a row of downside. 3 quarters in a row of downside there. 3 quarter, no, that's 4, 3, 3. We've gotten 2 back-to-back quarters of downside on Bitcoin. So it is looking a little bit rough. Quarterly support, 62,804. That low comes in at 58,890, so we didn't quite get there. 6132. That's the next major liquidation zone. So if Bitcoin's trading under this low, this would be the next major liquidation zone. I don't like it that it's still trading on the lows or so close to the lows for this quarter. I would much rather see it trading above the midpoint of this quarterly range. But it isn't. And we have to take it for what it's showing us, not for what we want it to do. Yeah, this was a weak pullback. This is your yearly fib. The yearly range for 2026. That's your high. There's your low. So a 382 pullback is considered extremely weak on a downtrending market. It's considered weak. So Bitcoin is still very, very weak. This is why a lot of retail has such a heavy short side bias. And I get it. I mean, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. It would have been nice to see Bitcoin break above the midpoint and then close above it. That would have been really good going into Q2, because then we could have been looking for Q2 levels or Q1 levels to get positioned in Q2. Yeah, it looks pretty bad. Looks pretty bad. All right, so I'm going to leave Pound Cat alone. You got 7 minutes left on the hourly close. This could be a bullish trap, but it's a big candle. It's a big expansion. It's a pretty big move higher. It feels like it wants to go higher to me. So I'd be very, very hesitant about putting on short side entries on this moving forward. This is poised to run and just continue trending now. Now that you've stopped out everybody. Like literally everybody. So this thing could keep going now. So I would not be putting on any shorts on this today. If I short it, it will be tomorrow. It won't be today. Bitcoin, that weakness starting to show back up here. Nvidia broke down. So yeah, it's just a matter of time now to where our take profit is going to get hit. I will move it up a little bit. Well, I'll just leave it right there. And this is all basically free money anyway, so that's why I'm only going to take half of the position off. Right now I'm controlling a quarter of a Bitcoin to the downside. I'm going to close half of it, so I'll be controlling like a little bit more than a tenth of a Bitcoin, which isn't a huge position. I get it. But it pays decently on small accounts. Not bad. Not bad at all. It was a great week. So Tesla breaking down. I really wish I would have put on the short on Tesla. That news. And I'm very butthurt that my long-term short on Nvidia got stopped out. Very annoyed about that. I do not like scam wicks. This wick got me. We put on a short here for the long-term trade. We were looking for the Feb Open retest, the Feb Open short, and then look for the monthly to continue to expand downward. We basically got that. That's literally what happened. It happened almost to perfection. But this scam wick, it was a 5-minute spike. 5 minutes. Price moved all the way up here, stopped me out, and then failed. Literally annoys me to no end. You will never get over that. As a trader, you will never get over that. But it is going to happen to you. It is going to happen. This is what we call random market violence. If it's a big level like that and everybody knows about it, everybody's going to have their eyes on it, then clearly you can expect some games to be played. Just like what we saw yesterday on Bitcoin. It's a big level. Everybody has their eyes on it, so you can guarantee there's going to be games that happen. This thing dropped. It looked really good going into Tuesday afternoon. And then right back up here and stopped out all those shorts. And then price starts to roll. So the shorts that got in yesterday, they're in decent shape now that it's back down here. And I'm only going to take half of the position off because I think we could see a larger move even now that these games got played. But the bias never shifted. I never shifted my bias, not for a second. I can't ever predict what price will do, but as long as I keep the bias the same, everything will work out. You just got to be careful and don't do that. Like, obviously here was it's easy for me to call this out in hindsight. And I see a lot of YouTubers do that, right? They get on here and they're like, well, this is where you should have. Now, I would not had put on the short if what happened. If it continued to make highs, then I would not have forced the issue. Because this was the point at which it's doing the exact same thing that pound CAD is doing right now. Right? So you can only hold a short if Bitcoin refuses to go higher than this level. If it goes into a trending mode, you have to stop forcing that short position. So if it would have went up here and took out stops here, right? You don't then go back and force another short and then do it again later and again later. Because as long as it's trading above this, you're wrong. You're wrong on your bias. Your bias is wrong. It isn't going lower. It's literally breaking out. So I think a lot of retail traders would do much better if they would just stick to the rules. It's the forcing of the bias is what gets you killed. Continuing to think that it's a short when your own rules are telling you it is not. It's a very valuable learning opportunity. Don't do that. Don't do that stuff. Stay away from overtrading and stay away from thinking that you know what price is going to do. It's people acting like they know what price is going to do. The big guys that have 1 million follows, they act like they know what it's going to do. I was right, and here and here and here. And that makes newer traders think that those guys know something that other people don't, which they don't. That's a false, it's a lie. They don't know what price is going to do. So that causes bad habits. It causes people to continue to put positions on when their bias is clearly wrong. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to reverse all the damage that was done by those dumbasses that act like they know what price is going to do, because they just don't. Anyways, yeah, don't force the issue when your bias is wrong. Let it be wrong. Just move on. Wait for the next day. Don't overtrade. That's going to kill accounts. I have no idea that Bitcoin will come down here. None. And it might not. I'm fully prepared to take profits higher if I have to. I'm not going to give all that money back. It's my money, the way that I see it. I put the risk on. I'm going to pay myself. It just might not be with as much as I thought it would be. But I'm okay with it. I don't care if it's $1. I will take a free $1. I'll just try to do that 1 billion more times. All right. What do we got going on over on oil and dollar real quick? So really nothing. It pulled back. It got a little bit brutal. It looked like we were going to see it pull back, but then the overall range came back into play, which is higher. You got a pretty significant bounce here. You're going to see, this is going to be a very choppy market. Just simple news headlines are going to cause this market to go crazy. It's going to go up. It's going to look like it's trending and everything is working out good. And then you're going to get a news item and then the market's going to reverse. Then you're going to shift your bias to be bearish. Then it's going to go up. It's a very difficult market to trade. A lot of risk out there. I think overall oil prices will probably, as time goes on, go lower. Right? But as long as price is trading above the weekly and monthly VWAPs, I have to give the respect to the upside. So I have to look at it as if, order flow is more bullish here. So trying to short this thing just because I think it's going to go back lower doesn't really make sense. I need to see legitimate weakness, or I need to start seeing rejections, like swing high failure patterns. We start seeing some of those, then we can start talking about putting on some oil shorts. We did try an oil short yesterday, and I got stopped out of it. But I was looking for it to roll over when it was down here in this mess. And it did not hold. It did not work. So now I have to give it a minute and let it figure out what it wants to do. Does it want to go up? Does it fail? It looks like it's trying to fail right now. And this is going to be a pretty big resistance zone. It's not huge, but I would argue that right now, daily supply sellers are causing the market to kind of slow its roll a little bit here, right? dollar supply, I mean daily supply. I keep saying dollar. I mean daily supply sellers. I wouldn't take this trade. Not if it's above the monthly VWAP. Because like I said, the order flow is a little bit too strong here. These guys might get stopped out. But you put this level, you put a daily supply level under an important monthly, some kind of average, then that would be a better trade. But that's not what we have right here, right now. What we have right here, right now is, even though this week started out extremely negative, those oil buyers have shown right back up. Have shown right back up. So we do have an 8-hour wick right here. If you're trading above it now. So if it fails again, now this candle won't close for another 5 hours. So it'll be another 5 hours of waiting just to see if it does put in a secondary wick into here and a secondary failure. If it does, then it'll start to feel like, okay, maybe we can start looking for shorts on oil because of that. I don't think I can give you anything closer than that. I can't, because you closed the 4-hour candle above it. Yeah, so I mean, the breakout is already happening, and you got a higher high here. Now, you did get a 4-hour lower low, but it's just a very near-term lower low. So it really doesn't matter. It could definitely keep going. Right? It could definitely keep going. So even though this is a 3-day supply level, don't just take the first short. If it tests that, you gotta make sure that that price is at least respecting it. But you're kind of against the order flow. You're against the buyers, and they are currently winning this battle. Yeah, right here is a breakout point. It's not a major breakout point. It's a daily high. Still trending up. Higher low, higher low, higher low. So the bulls definitely have it here. I would not be selling that. We want to take the trades that are going to work, have a better chance of working. 10-year yields are also up again today after being down yesterday. So yields look like they want to go higher. It's a bull flag too. This little move here, it's a bull flag. So we really wanted to see yields close down yesterday, and they did close down, but not like what we wanted to see. Now they're trending above yesterday's high, so it looks like yields want to break out to the upside. It's been a pretty extreme move to the upside. These things usually don't move that quick. These things are usually very choppy and slow moving assets. That was a pretty one-sided move. I think that's putting pressure on Bitcoin and risk. SPY still holding November's low as support. They got a nice bounce off of it early this morning, but now it's right back. Could be a double bottom. Maybe it does hold. It could be a double bottom. I would not be putting on any long positions on this if it's trading under November's low. I don't know that I would be putting on positions long, even if it wasn't trading under November's low. You'd be hard pressed to get me to buy this right now. This is, it isn't down that bad. and it is historically a place for people to buy the S&P. Generally, you can just think about like 3%, 5, 7, and 10. Those areas people typically will buy. If it's down 3%, you'll see buyers show up. It's down 5, buyers will show up. 7, so on and so forth. Once you get under 10, then it's like, what's going on? We're only down, or on these lows, we're only down 7.5%. All right. Anyway, sorry about that interruption, but that was weeks. I want to keep an eye on that. But anyways, yeah. So right now the pressure is a little bit down on it, but this is a crucial level to hold support for S&P. So we'll see what it does. If the sellers are able to hold it down, then we're gonna be good on those shorts. But if the buyers come in here and reject these lower lows, we're gonna have to keep that on the back of our heads as well. It's a very important level. Bitcoin's breaking down. It just made a lower low. That's your lower daily low. So that's gonna force retail buying to happen. People waiting for that fresh daily low. So I'm very interested to see what it does now. Does that hold, or does price just continue on lower? Very interested. Yeah, you're gonna have people that were looking for that fresh low, because if it's going to be a liquidation break, because the liquidation occurs, you liquidate the low of day, you smoke all the early buyers, and then price trades higher back up into the range. That's the break they're looking for. Those traders are going to start jumping on this now, looking for that liquidation break. That should have been where my original take profit was, but I couldn't generate $300 by taking half off if I put the take profit there. So I was looking for a breakdown today. That might come back to bite me in the buttocks. We'll see. It has before. It could again. I don't think we need a 5-minute RSI. We don't need the 5-minute Rizzy. We might see an aggressive move lower. That would look kind of, that wouldn't be good for longs, but it would be real good for shorts. If you do get that aggressive repricing lower, yeah, it's gonna feel rough. And like I said, I have standing buy orders out at 67K. That's for the cold storage wallet, though. Basically, all I do is all the profits that I generate here are just being transferred to Bitcoin, and I'm going to move it off into cold storage. This way I don't have to actually buy Bitcoin with hard-earned money or whatever. I mean, it is hard-earned money, but still, it's the best way to accumulate Bitcoin. Stacking sets. Finally, I got somebody at Weeks. Give me a second. A little bit worried. We saw an article. About the Atlanta bank. Sorry, guys. All right, there you go. All right, so I just sent them a message saying my community is a little worried. We saw an article saying something about an Atlanta bank sending you a cease and desist for U.S. citizens, so U.S. citizens are concerned. It was a prompt saying the IP address is not supported. And then I'll let you know what they have to say. All right, hello from Brazil. I've been following your channel for 4 years. Thank you so much, Santos. I really appreciate you. You and a few other people have been with me for a long time. All right, so we got hit on the take profit. We just got filled. So now we realized 353 bucks. We still have a little over a tenth of a Bitcoin on the short side. I'm going to readjust my stop loss just to make sure that I don't get filled on an upside move. I want to make sure that this position size is the exact same as what I'm holding short, and it is. So that literally means, okay, chill. That literally means that if Bitcoin reverses here and comes back up, then I'll eat a stop and I'll lose $17.66. I've already made $353, so I can't lose any money. But I can hold this open. That will stop, I promise. I can hold this open indefinitely. And that's why I love trading on these platforms, because this is a perpetual futures contract. It does not expire. And since it does not expire, you can hold positions open indefinitely. All right, let me see what they had to say. They had to say quite a bit there. Clicking on continue, keeps using that will be totally fine. Okay, so they're not saying anything. There's nothing to worry about. Okay. Okay, yeah, it just says totally understand with yours and theirs perspective. This is understandable. Please kindly rest assured clicking on continue keeps using the app and will totally be fine. So as of right now, they're not saying that we have to do anything. I promise you, if at any point they tell me that you gotta get your money off, I will let you know. At least now they are talking back and forth. What is going on? Okay, so yeah, they're not saying much. Here, let me close this. me close this so we're not bothered anymore. Okay, there. But yeah, so this is exactly what BitGet did. I'm not even gonna lie, right? This is exactly what they did. They said the exact same things in the beginning. Don't worry, everything will be fine. You're gonna get a prompt. If you get the prompt, just click OK and you'll still be able to sign it. So right now your money's okay, but this is my concern. What if one day it ain't, right? So make sure you guys aren't putting more money than you're willing to lose on exchange. It's no different than FTX or any other global exchange. I don't care that it's global. Unless you know where they are, right? Unless you can see their offices, which I doubt most of you can, then they could simply just 404 website not found you, and then you're screwed. All the money you had on exchange is gone that easily. It is very, very important that you understand that. So that's why I don't keep a lot of money on exchange. It's for that reason. If I ever go to log in, it's 404 not found or 504 not found, whatever. I'm like, well, them bastards got away with some of my money. But I make consistent withdrawals. So, I mean, the amount of money that I hold on exchange, I've already withdrawn several times over. That's why so I'm not really concerned with it. It would suck, but there ain't nothing I can do about it either. So I'd be fine. I'd be all right. It wouldn't slow down my trading. I have multiple platforms, multiple accounts. I have Forex accounts, stock accounts, options accounts, too many accounts. I would love to find one exchange, one broker that does it all. I would love that. But some just do better on some things. And I love trading with Weeks. I love their system. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. You get good fills, consistent fills. The spreads are generally tight. If there's enough liquidity in the asset, the spreads are generally tight. And the fees are not too bad. I mean, some fees on other crypto exchanges are crazy. Like literally impossible to make money because of the fees alone. But with Weeks, they're not like that. You can absolutely make money if you are if you just trade consistently, you'll be fine. So hopefully nothing changes, but we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. All right, so we did get filled on the Bitcoin position. So stop is situated. Everything is good. I'm going to leave this the way it is now for any downside continuation. I do have a standing order to buy $4,000 worth of Bitcoin at 67K on the spot side of the platform. And then I will continue to buy at 67K until I get what I'm looking to get, or I will buy lower. So like if Bitcoin just blasts through 67K, which is just right here. Well, here, let me bring you down here as I know this works a little bit better. Oh, sorry. Daily. Go out here. The 67K is just right under these lows. Right in here. If you look at it, it's pretty close to like if you looked at all this as a range. As one big range, it's pretty close. Of course you don't work. Here, I'll just do it like this. If you don't want to work. So if we look at this entire gray shaded area as one gigantic range, 67K is about the midpoint. It's about half of the range. So as long as we're in this range, I am looking to be a buyer near the midpoint of it. And then if it breaks down and we start getting fresh lows, which probably will happen if Bitcoin breaks down. below your bear flag trend line here, then obviously I'm going to be looking to add lower. My absolute, if I was looking at it in terms of if I anticipated the long-term cycles to remain the same moving forward, there really is no point in doing it like that, because the future, nobody knows what the future has in store. But Bitcoin has never made lower lows, like in terms of 4-year cycles. So when you have the bear market sell-offs, when Bitcoin first got started, obviously we saw 90, and hell, even one time it was a 99% correction. But once it started to trade and the 4-year cycles started to kick in, every bear market low ended up being a higher low. So the last sell-off we got back in 2022, Bitcoin sold off 76%. So the way I'm looking at it, my total bear market low, otherwise cycles broken level, is around 29K, 30K. So I would be a buyer, hypothetically, all the way down to there. If you break down under that, then that will be a lower low, and your 4-year cycle could be busted. That will change a lot of stuff. Excuse me. And that's, like I said, around 30K. So we'll see if it does that. I mean, there's no way to know if it's going to happen or not. There just isn't any way to know. But I am investing in Bitcoin with money. Hang on, I did this the wrong way. I am investing in Bitcoin with money that I am fully prepared to lose all of it. It will not change my life, not one iota. Obviously, I just wouldn't own Bitcoin anymore. I don't do anything with the Bitcoin that I do own now. It just sits on cold storage. That's it. Every now and then I'll open up the platform and see what the equity curve looks like, and it looks good. It's from the bottom left to the top right, which is the way every equity curve should look. So the way I'm looking at it, I will quit buying Bitcoin. I will quit accumulating Bitcoin if Bitcoin drops below 75%. Because then you will have something new happening. It will no longer be, buy higher lows because it's a lower low. So then I'm not going to sell all of my Bitcoin, but I'm going to stop accumulating it at that point. If that doesn't happen, then obviously I want to be accumulating as much Bitcoin as I can with an amount of money that I can lose, right? Because I think long-term Bitcoin's going much, much higher. Much, much higher. Now, I'm not going to put a cap on that. Because literally Michael Saylor and BlackRock own enough Bitcoin right now that if Bitcoin were to change trend and start ripping faces off to the upside, there really is no limit. Because most of the supply is already owned. So in order for billionaires to even get a position in Bitcoin, they need you guys to sell. You, the retail investor, maybe not you specifically, but just everybody else, has to sell. So that way they can accumulate Bitcoin. And that's what's currently going on right now. A transfer of coins from retail to billionaires. Because there's been enough time on this asset for them to start buying it. You're going to see Citibank and all these other companies out there, they are buying it because they're going to offer Bitcoin credit. They're going to offer credit essentially backed by Bitcoin. So they need you to sell so they can buy. And there's only one reason why they would even be thinking about buying. is if they thought it was going to go higher. And generally they're right. They make money. Like, they know how to make money. So I want to do what they're doing. And we know for a fact that companies, governments, and ETFs, their position is growing. We can track that thanks to on-chain metrics. We can track it. We know that it's getting bigger. We know that it is. On-chain data lets us know that. And now that we do know that, I do not want to be a seller of Bitcoin, not from my cold storage wallet, not from my bags, right? I want to hold those. I want to accumulate more of it because I can see those billionaires buying it, and they're only buying it because they think it's going up. I'll show you if I can find it. For anybody that's new and has not seen it, if you're an active Bitcoiner, you've already seen this. Obviously, I gotta kill that music. You've already seen this if you're an active Bitcoiner, because you follow a lot of people. But this is the individual's side of the pie. And then right here, this little itty bitty red slice is governments. See, at this point in time, November 2015, companies and ETFs weren't even in the picture. They were still saying stuff like, it's fool's gold, it's going to zero, blah, 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 right? Now, they're involved. And not only are they involved, their position size is getting bigger, while the individuals that own Bitcoin's position or pie share is getting smaller. So there's governments. You just saw it grow. Now here comes the companies. That's February 20 or January 2024. That's when the ETF started. Companies started getting involved. And then watch this, because from 2022 to now, what happens to this pie? It's literal growth, and it's not slowing down. That's what I'm trying to show you. That's what this diagram does a fantastic job showing you. The amount of Bitcoin that each one of these people own isn't going down. It is going up. Their share is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And here we are. Well, February 2026. That's on-chain data that's generating that pie graph. That ain't just some random cartoon somebody put together. That's legitimate data. Legitimate on-chain data that we track as Bitcoiners. We track it. We want to know who's buying, who's selling. Well, retail is selling. They are buying. I only want to be a buyer on Bitcoin. And since I don't want to buy Bitcoin with hard-earned money, I'll trade my way into owning a lot of Bitcoin, right? If I can generate consistent returns trading, I can still pay my bills and then turn some of those profits into Bitcoins, and I can just generate more and more. So I'm essentially just generating Bitcoin the same way those guys are, and I'll be just fine. That's where I want all of you to be. I think if all of you could become a consistently profitable trader, and to where you could jerk profits out of the market as easily as I show you that it is easy to do sometimes, then you too would not have to worry about watching your Bitcoin bags go down, because you wouldn't care, because all the Bitcoin you own was free money anyways, or traded profits anyways. But when you work for a living and you have a hard job and it's not easy for you to get a hold of money, it's not easy for you to turn that money into Bitcoin, and then it definitely ain't easy for you to just see it go to zero. I don't disagree with people selling Bitcoin. I don't disagree with that. I would have hated that too. That does suck. I mean, it's your hard-earned money. You don't want to see it be turned into nothing. But I think a lot of people are not understanding the reality of the situation. This asset is going to explode in value. Most likely. Like, those billionaires would not be buying Bitcoin if it was going to zero. BlackRock would not be buying Bitcoin. They would not they would not have made an ETF. They would have not have invested a single dime of their capital into Bitcoin if they legitimately thought Bitcoin was going to zero. But unfortunately, there's so many fudsters out there and so many bears out there that they don't care what happens to you. I do. I think it's more of a risk to not own Bitcoin. And if you can trade profitably, if you can go in and out of the markets and jerk money out of it consistently, then you should definitely be turning some of those profits into Bitcoin. I think the risk is far greater that you don't. If you don't do that, then, wondering or pondering if it's going to go to zero or not. I think that question is off the board. Now, there are massive risks still associated with Bitcoin. I'm not saying that there's no chance Bitcoin's going to zero. I don't want you to mistake what I'm saying. There are still massive risks out there. But, with huge risks, and we don't even know some of the risks that are going to prop up in the future. There are risks we probably aren't even aware of yet that are going to show up. But now that the big money's involved, those problems will get fixed if they can be fixed. When we start to see their position size getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then retail's position size getting bigger and bigger and bigger again, that's when you want to sell. That's when you want to get out of Bitcoin. When the smart money is no longer accumulating Bitcoin. But make no mistake, guys, they are accumulating it, and they're accumulating it today and yesterday, the day before then. They absolutely are. All right, so anyways, getting off the soapbox, we did make that lower low. Bitcoin did bounce. This low, in my opinion, is the more important low. It's not a fresh weekly low. You're still up on the week up here, so Bitcoin still looks good if it can stay up on the week. If it can stay as a bullish candle and not a bearish one. We'll see, obviously, as the next couple days go by. It still looks okay. This is not a nasty, nasty breakdown by any stretch of the imagination. You have just now liquidated the Tuesday's low. That is it. I wouldn't necessarily be a buyer here because order flow is, like right now, it is bearish. And price is showing you that because you made a higher high and then came down and made a lower low. So at least right now, price is more bearish than bullish. But we'll see if the bulls are able to pick it up somewhere. I'd say if you break down below this level and you start to trend lower, the next level to watch would be the weekly open. So there won't be any trades to make on the buy side of this thing anywhere under this blue level and anywhere above this white level, because in there's just going to be chop and slop. We won't know. But yeah, that's that. Let's go look at gold real quick. Gold never did test the weekly open. It's fine. Aussie dollar has not yet made that fresh monthly lower low. It looks like it's going to. Yeah, it looks fine for downside continuation as long as it's not making higher highs. This is probably the target for Aussie dollar. And then once we get under that, I would love to see this thing just take off, trending lower, as I'm positioned nicely for that. It's a very small account, but I'm just trying to grow it. That's it. Just grow that account. Prove that anybody can consistently trade profitably. We'll be able to do that at the end of the year. All right, so Nvidia still not breaking down here. It did start to break down. Why does that say gap fill? Is there a downside gap here? Yes, there was. But why does it look like that? Oh, okay, I see what's going on. That gap was already filled. That gap got filled when this opened and traded up. So I'm not sure why that gap fill line is there. There was no gap there. That gap was filled. This gap was filled. Yeah, there was no gap there. Yeah, no gap. No gap. I probably just grabbed that line and moved it down. It was probably up here or something. And I just pulled it down there. It was an accident, whatever. It's under the March open. So support got broken. This is a ascending trend line that's just was taken from all of the monthly swing lows. Right in here and here. So clearly we don't want to see Nvidia lose that. It's just a trend line. You're still in the range as long as you're above November's low. You're still in the range as long as you're above that. So breaking down below here will be bigger. But Nvidia has a lot of liquidation points under it. So there's potential support everywhere on Nvidia. But it does look like it wants to go lower. We'll see what happens with it. This could end up being a trap. I'm not really seeing, well, it's trying to do it right now. Let me get it there. Yeah, the dollar hasn't done anything else. It's still trading under the low of day. But the dollar's getting ready to make a move here, probably. This is an old weekly open. It is not. Oh, it's this week's open. Oh, it's this week's open. Okay. Yeah, this is today's open down here, and that's today's low down there. So yeah, I mean, that's a higher low. And it's starting to get some steam here. This will probably not be good if it continues to do that. And that's what I would expect it to continue to do. Oil is right now trying to stop out all of those daily supply sellers. It's probably going to get them. It's still trending up. I mean, the day is up. It's been trending up all day, and it's trying to continue that trend right now. So the trend is your friend. It's cliched to say it, but it is so, so true. Tesla's just made fresh daily lows a little bit ago. Been chopping since. And then the SPY, not quite yet, hasn't made fresh daily lows just yet. This happened pre-market, so it doesn't exist on a daily chart. But haven't quite made a fresh daily low yet. Right there's your daily low. So buyers are going to want to see that hold. It does not look like it is going to hold. That 8-hour low closed at noon. What are you talking about, Tom? What 8-hour low, my friend, on Bitcoin? Yeah, it's also Tuesday's low. It's not just an 8-hour low. It is also Tuesday's low. Yeah, it's a big level. It's the last real liquidation point until you get to the weekly low. The weekly low is right here. That's the prior week. So you don't want to take out the prior week's low. But if you make a fresh weekly low this week, like today or tomorrow, you are most likely going to take out last week's low. And then it'll look like full-on bearish continuation at that point. But we definitely don't want to see Bitcoin breaking down below this level, because if it does, those are the next levels to liquidate. Yeah. So we gotta, you gotta get moving in the other direction, Bitcoin. You're not listening. I said billionaires are accumulating you. You're supposed to go up. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah. Oops. All right. Any questions? Anybody got any setups right now? Anything that they think is a potential trade idea that may play out today or tomorrow? Anything at all. I don't care what it is. I have access to trade most products. I do want to see, let me go to sectors real quick. I want to see what the sectors have been doing. I know the XLK, XLC, XLF, and XLY all not looking so hot right now. But I wanted to see what happened to those rotation sectors. XLV came off hard. In a bear market, everything will get hit. They did rotate from growth to value, and they did put money in XLI. But you can see for the last 4 weeks, even that has been getting hit. They also rotated into XLP. You can see for the last several weeks, even that has been getting hit. XLE is not getting hit, obviously, because of oil and oil companies that make up this ETF. XLU, this thing, it doesn't track the bonds, but sometimes it does. It doesn't look like it's tracking the bonds right now, but even utilities is getting hit. At least we're seeing this one rebound a little bit. Real estate looking rough. Retail looking rough. And then home builders looking rough, man. Things are looking rough out there. Home Depot looking beat up. United Healthcare looking beat up. There was a big gap on this. That gap has been filled. Huge gap there. That's been filled. This does look like it's trying to build in a longer term support. But like I said, if we go into a bear market, which we're still a long ways off from being able to say that we're going into a bear market, then I don't know that I want to buy anything. But I do know that Berkshire Hathaway did invest a lot into United Healthcare when it broke down. And that's kind of what got that news going. But it's been enough time now since that news happened to where most people have forgotten about that. So if United Healthcare can stop making fresh lows, I might start adding some of shares of this to the long-term portfolio. I don't own any United Healthcare yet. I typically only own growth assets, but I own a few things that aren't growth, but I would love to invest in this, but not necessarily in a bear market. So I'm going to watch that long-term low and see if that can hold. If it can for a huge amount of time, I'm going to start to look to put on a few shares of this. O'Reilly, which is typically a stock that usually looks pretty good, is even struggling a bit here. In a bear market, nothing will be safe. This thing is actually making fresh 2-week highs, but it has lost that. This thing usually trends really, really good. You can see here, this first retest might be a stay out of it kind of thing. Look at how good this thing trends, dude. Just straight up. So this would be another long-term buy, only when it's, you know, pretty much done. This is just getting started, though, unfortunately. I was looking for something specifically. Look at Nike. Oh, what happened, Nike? What happened, bro? Y'all need to get your stuff together, man. Your stock is getting beat up. A lot of competition out there. I get it. So you might want to start competing. What happened to Nike, dude? They used to make money. They used to print money. Seemed like every year Nike stock was higher. Except for the last 5 years. It's at yearly support. To be fair. I'll just use this one. Maybe it stops going lower. We'll see. It's trending down. I don't like to be a buyer on assets that are trending down. I like to buy consolidation. This one's probably getting killed. Yep, it's getting beat up. I imagine it would. Everything will get beat up. Still not quite that liquidation there. I bought a few shares of this when it was at $3. If it gets back down there again, I might do it again. If it doesn't get down there, I might pick up some here at 437. Just a few. I'm not buying a lot. This is a very volatile asset, and they have not been given the green light to start mining yet. I think this will be a good stock to own once they get the green light to pick up those little magic ocean rocks. I think it will. It'll be a good company to own. But we'll see. Even Boeing didn't even really bounce. Where's defense? Pull up defense. Weekly. So they're using the war to take profits on Lockheed Martin. General Dynamics still on highs. RTX, same scenario. They're using the war to pull profits off the table before the bear market starts. These things usually, man, oh my gosh, politicians. Yeah, I mean, everything will get killed in a bear market. I was looking for something specifically, and I can't remember what it was. What does Walmart look like real quick? Walmart looks okay, but it's coming back a little bit too. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone buying Tuesday's low? I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Let's go see Farcoin. Did it trend down? It still isn't yet. It made a lower low, but it's into support. This area held as support the other day. Bonk got hit. Pingu got hit. And Zcash. What did XMR do? Oh gosh, we missed it. That's what I was looking for right there. Son of a bitch, dude. This thing has been hard to get position on. There's that expansion I was looking for. Damn it. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, this is going to probably lead to a multi-day run lower. Man. See, it didn't quite make it up to yesterday's open. Yesterday didn't quite make it up to Tuesday's open. I wasn't anticipating it getting all the way up there. At first, I was literally watching this level to look to get in the short in anticipation of this move. That really burns me up because I can't catch them all. It's just this freaking wick, dude, was just too much. Even if you would have sold right there, it got you. It stopped you out. That's a bigger move than it looks. It's a 1.31% move. There's no way any leverage at all would have allowed you to stay in that. And now look at this thing go. So hypothetically, if we would have been able to get position there, I guess it isn't that big of a move. It's a 6% move, but I don't think it's done. I think it's just getting started here. But it's probably not going to give me a place to enter. We'll see. But I anticipate you're going to see a couple days of downside continuation. Because this is a breakdown of a huge level. This is my next target. I'd say it probably has no problems getting there now that it's broken down. And I don't want to sell it on a breakdown. It is what it is. I missed it. And then we were watching this one too, and it nothing really amounted to it. It did rally from when we were looking at it the other day, but I did not get in on it. I tried and I got stopped out. And then it went on to move up like 13 or 14%. But it looks done now. Looks toast. Looks toast. What's up? Is there anything up big today? All BLUAI is up 39%. It's only got 700,000 contracts traded though, not a lot of volume, but more and more volume is piling in on it. Literally as we're talking. Funding rate is paying the sellers. And then what happened to Siren? I know I saw it up over 100%. Again, it's getting killed again. I made a lot of money on that one. Yeah, I made a lot of money on that one. I caught that entire move. I actually got out of it down here. It was a big move, but it was hard to get in. It took a couple days before it worked. But it looks like it's toast now. This thing got more overbought than I've ever seen any asset get. I've never seen a weekly 98. It was up at like 98.7 one day. 98.7 on the weekly RSI. Just, we knew it was going to roll over. We just didn't know when it was going to happen and from what price it was going to happen. So we took a couple shots at it. The first 2 shots missed. The third one caught it. Lost about $200 on the trade total. Made about $1,200. So I'll take that all day long, every day. There's anything else that overbought, let me know. For sure, let me know. I could probably run a scan. You could run a scan. Just set that as your scan parameters. Let me know any asset that's 90 on the RSI on the weekly time frame or higher. Probably won't be many. But yeah, that was a definite keep your eyes on it. And then Kite is down 15%. This one was on the fritz for a minute. I never did get in on it, but it was massively overbought as well. It's getting hammered here today. Big fat trap here and here, and now those people were stopped out. Yeah, it's probably toast. I'd steer clear from that one. Let it continue to go lower. Pippin is up 12 today. But that's just today. It's already been wrecked. It's been wrecked so much that just a tiny pop, very small move, is up 12%. That's a big mover. Be careful if you're trading it. That thing is a big mover. Look at these deltas down here, though. Pretty bullish. Pretty bullish here. Let me pull up Pippin up top. Let me see something. Down 22% from where it was at this time yesterday. On a day when people are buying it like crazy. There is no point in looking at that other indicator. Yeah, this one would be a very, very dangerous buy. It's not signaling a buy at all. I mean, it's a massive sell, but it's so extended. And since we're seeing a lot of bullish deltas, maybe a spike is coming. So the way I would mitigate that is I would simply watch the prior. Let me see here. Yeah. If it can stay above that, I might be able to pick up along there. Only because of the deltas. Now they are not trending from this point, which is important. You're not trending higher. It's a risky trade. very, very risky, but this thing moves so much that just a slight pop, if it got down here, just to get it back up to the high, would be a 17% win. Or 15%, because I would take profits short of the high. But yeah, if it can stay above, I might buy like $50 worth or $100 worth, something like that, with some leverage on it, so that way if it does give me a nice little 10-20% pop, be a nice little winning trade. Well, I'm gonna keep this on watch today. River's getting beat up. Yeah, it looks like everything's getting pretty much beat up today. WorldCoin is getting beat up as well. And it's getting beat. It's down. Oh, wait. That's not WorldCoin. Yeah, that looks better. This thing is on fresh all-time lows. Fresh all-time lows, baby. Sam Altman, and this was his baby before he went over to the AI company. He was an investor in it. I don't know that he is anymore, but it's on fresh all-time lows. I know Dan Ives is involved with this product. Oh my gosh, dude. It's literally been making fresh all-time lows since October. That was your low. That's a fresh all-time low. Then another fresh all-time low. Then another fresh all-time low. Bam, bam, and here you are again. Bam. This thing looks like it's going to zero. At some point, I imagine this will be a buy. I can't imagine Dan Ives getting on board. Dan Ives is a huge analyst at Wedbush. I mean, he's all over the place on TV. Super famous tech guy. I'm sure he's long and strong WorldCoin right now. Well, it ain't strong. It definitely ain't strong. But it isn't a rug either. It's not a rug pull. At some point, this thing will find value. And when it does, I'll probably pick up a couple of them. Not on leverage, though. Just to see what happens with it. It's a shit coin. So make sure you can afford to lose whatever you invest in it. I don't anticipate it's going to be some revolutionary breakthrough or anything like that. But the technology will be very important for advertisers in the AI space. So anybody that wants to advertise with AI, they're going to want to do it, or this will probably do some good in the future. I mean, it's almost a quarter. You could throw, $10 at it and see what happens. Just not huge money on it. Yeah, and everything else is getting beat up. Bitcoin's down 3.27% today. It's not really a laughing matter. That's a pretty serious down day, 3%. S&P has still not made fresh day lows. Nvidia did make fresh day lows, but has since pulled back off of them. And Tesla did also make fresh day lows and has since pulled back off of them. Today could get nasty. Just keep an eye on the dollar. People are bouncing. No new comments coming in, so we're going to wrap this up. But keep the dollar on watch. If the dollar breaks out and continues to trend, that could put some serious pressure on your favorite stock. If the dollar fails, though, then you might want to ease back on any short positions that you've taken today, or just ease back on taking any fresh short positions today. I would keep an eye on the dollar, keep an eye on oil, keep an eye on the dollar. They are both poised to continue, but they could be setting a bull trap. The dollar is kind of breaking out in terms of you are trading well above yesterday's high. So you are breaking out above yesterday. And you're back to positive on the week. But if you look at it in terms of like a trend line, for instance, put a trend line on there, you're not really breaking out of this wedge yet. So this is going to be the big level up here, Q4 2025's high. But if it breaks out above this even, you could be anticipating the next play to be a full-on breakout. And that could put a lot more pressure on the markets. We'll see what happens. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.